Newscast.
Good evening, I am Jarvis Bunny with your VON Major News Package for today, Monday, March 23rd, 2020. In our lead stories nationally, no efforts spared as federal government commits additional $16.9 million to health sector in response to COVID-19, and Federal Ministry of Health issues revised travel advisory for St. Kitts and Nevis. Regionally, Barbados keeps borders open. COVID-19 cases increased to 17. Internationally, New York warns of major medical shortages in 10 days amidst COVID-19. And in sports, World Athletics President Lord Cole calls for Olympics postponement. We'll have the details to these and other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan.
Welcome back, and now on to the national news in detail.
The federal government has committed so far to an additional $16.9 million to the health sector in response to COVID-19. This sum of $16.9 million is in addition to the $62 million budgeted for the health sector in 2020. We will spare no efforts and resources to keep our country safe.
That's Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. Prime Minister Harris on Sunday, March 22nd, was updating the nation as to what the government's plans are in dealing with the coronavirus pandemic. While there are no confirmed cases of the virus here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and according to Caribbean 360, SKN is the only COVID-19 free CARICOM nation, Prime Minister Harris listed out the preparations being made for any case or cases of the virus.
Your Team Unity government and our team of medical experts are working to a plan that is tailored to and specific for our needs here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Our preparations, of course, are ongoing. We are in the process of acquiring additional essential protective equipment, including masks, gloves, sanitizers, ventilators, and ambulances, to name a few. Our early preparations mean we are ahead of several countries in the queue for necessary items which require urgent production.
Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. In the interest of protecting the borders of St. Kitts and Nevis as well as the health and wellness of its citizens and residents, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis is imposing travel advice and restrictions in response to the rapid intensification and widespread distribution of COVID-19 cases globally. The travel advice and restrictions include the following. Nationals and legal residents of St. Kitts and Nevis are strongly advised to avoid all non-essential travel to countries or jurisdictions where COVID-19 cases have been reported and where there is local community transmission. Countries include China, Iran, Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, Japan, the European Union EU, Switzerland, the United Kingdom UK, and the United States of America USA, as well as the Dutch and French territories in the Caribbean. Nationals and legal residents of St. Kitts and Nevis arriving from the aforementioned destinations or any other destination will be subject to entry screening and a mandatory 14-day quarantine period upon arrival. International travelers from the aforementioned countries or jurisdictions are strongly advised not to travel to St. Kitts and Nevis at this time, as you will be refused entry. All non-national travelers arriving from any other international destination will go through an advanced screening process at port of entry, regardless of your point of origin, will be subjected to a mandatory quarantine period of not less than 14 days at a government-designated quarantine site, and you receive health checks by the Ministry of Health's designated quarantine officials on a daily basis and may be refused entry. Any person found in breach of the terms of his or her quarantine shall be liable on summary conviction to the penalties as outlined in the Public Health Quarantine Regulations SRO No. 2 of 2020. To date, there are no confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the Federation. Prime Minister Dr. The Honorable Timothy Harris says his government's plan to deal with any possible outbreak of the COVID-19 will ensure that the people of the Federation are safe. Dr. Harris made those remarks in an address to the nation on Sunday evening.
Our plan to protect and prepare our people has a very clear objective: to keep our people safe. It is based on advice from health and other experts, and it draws on the lessons of what has and has not worked in other countries. To ensure we are as prepared as we can be, our plan is constantly adapting. That is why we have activated our Health Emergency Operations Center to allow for better coordination, efficiency, and efficacy in our preparation and response outcomes.
Dr. Harris also had this to say.
I anticipate on Tuesday, March 24th, that we can provide more specifics at our press conference on what we as a small country of limited resources will do to make our country safer and more resilient in the face of an evolving, externally driven pandemic.
Prime Minister Dr. The Honorable Timothy Harris. In more national news,
we have now had word that some hotels on the island will be closing, and others have already closed some departments. The economic shock at the household, local and national level will be substantial. I commit to working closely with the Honorable Prime Minister to determine the best approach for our people, bearing in mind that none of us brought this calamity on ourselves.
This is the Honorable Mark Brantley. Mr. Brantley delivered an address on Thursday, March 19th, updating the island of Nevis about the impact the coronavirus has so far caused. The virus, which originated in Wuhan, China, has caused the deaths of over 15,000 people as of today, March 23rd. Globally, as of today, there were over 300,000 cases of the disease. COVID-19 has also forced many cancellations, postponements, and rescheduling of numerous events surrounding the sports, business sectors, etc. Here in St. Kitts and Nevis, the Rams Inter-Primary School Athletics Competition and the TDC Inter-High School Championships, which were slated for March 21st to the 22nd and March 27th to the 29th respectively, were postponed indefinitely last week after extensive deliberations with all stakeholders and the advice of the Ministry of Health. Furthermore, the Gulf Insurance Inter-Primary School Athletics Competition, alias Mini Olympics, which was originally slated for Wednesday, April 1st, was postponed until further notice. The Agriculture Open Day was also postponed, but consideration will be given to host the event in October 2020, according to Premier Brantley. Meantime, Mr. Brantley said despite the postponements, the safety of all is important.
I appreciate that the postponement of large events such as Inter-Primary and Agricultural Open Day would be unwelcomed by most. Many sports enthusiasts look forward with much anticipation to the Mini Olympics, and the students compete each year for glory. I'm also aware that many of our vendors look forward to these events to make a dollar. The decision therefore saddens me greatly, but my cabinet must be guided by the advice of the stakeholders. We apologize to all who will be disappointed by these decisions, especially our young athletes, our schools, the fans, and of course our farmers. We look forward to rescheduling these events and shall continue to engage the stakeholders to determine the best approach. However, for now, the safety and security of our people must remain paramount.
The Honorable Mark Brantley. Prime Minister Dr. The Honorable Timothy Harris has accused the opposition St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party SKNLP of spreading rumors of confirmed cases of the coronavirus COVID-19 here in St. Kitts and Nevis. This comes on the heels of a statement from the Office of the Chief Medical Officer, CMO Dr. Hazel Laws, which stated there have been no confirmed cases of COVID-19 in St. Kitts and Nevis. Last Tuesday, March 17th, rumors were circulating on social media of St. Kitts and Nevis recording its first case of the virus. The statement said that we have been made privy to social media messages which suggest that there has been a confirmed case identified. This is absolutely false, so we condemn this malicious and mischievous attempt to mislead, the CMO's office said. Later that evening, March 17th, Prime Minister Harris made the accusation during the Team Unity government's town hall meeting.
Why is it today the opposition elements try to create a scare in the country and send around this lying, abominable post that St. Kitts and Nevis has its first confirmed case, and they know it was a lie? Why would they stoop so low to disrupt the peace and calm of our country? Somebody had better warn them what they're doing. It is very wrong, and it is shameful that persons who want to lead the country seem to believe that their only chance of success is to destroy it, is to eliminate the confidence of the people of the country.
Meanwhile,
I am inspired to use every waking moment for your betterment and upliftment. And I promise you, in good times and bad, Dr. Harris will be there with you. I will never leave you. And I'm not Jesus, but I will never forsake the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, who have always treated me better than I deserve. So I come to say thank you, even in this moment of challenge.
Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. The High Command of the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force, RSCNPF, has issued a statement regarding a false report of a shooting incident in Newtown in St. Kitts. In the statement, the High Command stated that it has received several inquiries about an electronic message being circulated. The message claims that there was a fatal police-involved shooting incident in Newtown. It further claims that this occurred following another shooting incident in which 2 persons were shot, 1 fatally. According to the High Command, nothing could be further from the truth. This information is absolutely false. The High Command strongly condemned the message and added, it is unfortunate that someone would find the time to fabricate such a story. This kind of information is unsettling, and the public does not deserve to be confronted with rumors of violence. The murder toll for St. Kitts and Nevis stands at 3 for 2020. As of Sunday, March 22nd, visits to Her Majesty's Prison HMP were suspended until further notice, according to a police communique. This is also a precautionary measure in light of the coronavirus. This also comes days after police issued a release regarding the limits on visits to the prison. Last week, a release from the police stated initially, starting March 23rd, visits to Her Majesty's Prison will be limited to 1 person per inmate at a time between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Mondays to Fridays. The World Health Organization WHO declared that the coronavirus is now a pandemic. 4 persons in the Caribbean have died so far from the virus. St. Kitts and Nevis' Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris has expressed sympathy and solidarity to several countries that are severely impacted by the outbreak of the coronavirus as the country prepares for its first case, although there has been no confirmed case so far. In a letter dated March 17 to Italian Prime Minister His Excellency Giuseppe Conte, Prime Minister Harris expressed sincere condolences for the enormous loss of lives of Italians as a consequence of this infectious viral disease, and wish speedy recovery to all injected. Excellency, our hearts and prayers are with the people of your great country as your experts continue to work feverishly to arrest this pandemic and minimize the loss of lives, the Prime Minister added. Italy's death toll from the coronavirus overtook that of China, where the virus first emerged. The death toll in Italy as of today stood at 6,077. The St. Kitts and Nevis' Prime Minister also wrote to his United Kingdom counterpart, the Right Honourable Boris Johnson, in which he also expressed solidarity in light of the global outbreak that continues to disrupt lives and economies all over. Prime Minister Harris also reached out to President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, as 504 persons across the USA have died from the virus. As of March 23rd, that's today, over 373,161 persons have been infected by the COVID-19 virus, with 16,315 deaths worldwide and 101,399 recovered cases from the disease. According to a notice from the Nevis Island Administration NIA, Premier the Honorable Mark Brantley will host his monthly press conference on Thursday, March 26th at 10 a.m. The conference was initially scheduled for Tuesday, March 24th. It will be held at the Cabinet Room on the second floor of the Social Security Building at Pinny's Estate here on Nevis. The Premier will provide an update on matters of national interest. Members of the press will be afforded the opportunity to ask questions for the listening and viewing public, and the press conference will be broadcast live here on Von Radio 860 AM as well as vonradio.com. And Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris will on Tuesday, March 24th, host his monthly press conference at 3 p.m. During the forum, he will provide an update to citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis on matters of national interest. With respect to the COVID-19 pandemic, it is understood that the Prime Minister will announce an economic response towards the situation. The conference will be broadcast live here on Von Radio 860 AM as well as vonradio.com. And that's the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com, or you can check us out on Facebook at Von Radio or our Von Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
We know you have your personal as well as your business needs, and we're here to help. Our knowledgeable staff will work with you to help you achieve the financial success that you or your company needs in a competitive market. We offer solutions that make your banking experience easier, like our savings and checking accounts. Be sure to ask about our youth savers accounts and our Bank of Nevis Go Club. We offer a wide range of personal loans, including mortgage, land, student, auto, and consumer loans. Have access to your funds instantly with our BeOnline internet banking and our debit and credit cards. We make international banking and investing easy. How's your business? Give it the leverage it really needs by letting the Bank of Nevis assist you with all the necessary funding for all your business expenses. It's that easy. What are you waiting for? The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life.
Like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/The Bank of Nevis.
Welcome back, and now on to the regional news. News from Barbados. Despite the number of confirmed cases of the coronavirus disease increasing to 17 on Sunday, March 22nd, the government is keeping its borders open but ending commercial flights. Minister of Tourism and International Transport Kerry Simons said on Sunday that government is putting steps in place to ensure the country maintains air connectivity so it can continue import commodities such as food, medical supplies and equipment. He said that rather than join the queue of countries requesting chartered flights, government was negotiating with airlines to provide at least a once-a-week service from major gateways. During Sunday's press conference, Simons outlined plans for maintaining international access. Meantime, Minister Simons says government's demonstrated commitment to cruise ships home porting in Barbados' waters amid the COVID-19 crisis could redound to its benefit in the months ahead. He said the country's humanitarian approach to the issue was already seeing positive results, with the possibility of a Southern Caribbean Cruise Alliance allowing for a cruise itinerary in the summer being on the cards for Barbados. In Jamaica, the government has issued a community quarantine order on the heels of the country's first death from COVID-19 and the refusal by the victim's family to quarantine themselves. The imposition of the order for the Corn Peace settlement in the southern parish of Clarendon was announced by Prime Minister Andrew Holness in Parliament on Thursday, a day after a 76-year-old man who travelled from New York died from COVID-19. Jamaica has confirmed 19 COVID-19 cases. Out of Port-au-Prince, Haiti, as the country recorded its first 2 cases of the coronavirus, the government declared a state of emergency, closing the country's airports to commercial flights and imposing a 9-hour curfew. Announcing the state of emergency late on Thursday, President Jovenel Moïse said ports, airports and borders would be closed to people but would remain open to accept goods. News from Dominica, a 54-year-old citizen was on Sunday confirmed as the first person to test positive for the coronavirus in the country. Minister of Health Irvin McIntyre told reporters that the infected person recently returned to the island from the United Kingdom. The Dominican national was placed under home quarantine from the time of arrival and has been under surveillance by a medical team. Meanwhile, Grenada has recorded its first case of the coronavirus, and the announcement was made on Sunday during a press conference called by the Ministry of Health. The individual has been identified as a female who is displaying mild symptoms. She has been isolated, and according to health officials, she arrived in the country on March 16th from the United Kingdom. Out of Guyana, Barack Jagdeo, leader of the People's Progressive Party's Civic PPPC list of candidates, and 3 other political parties will now have the opportunity to submit arguments in response to the fixed date application FDA filed by Ulita Gracemore, which in effect seeks to bar the Guyana Elections Commission GECOM from facilitating a national recount on the grounds that it is unconstitutional and in breach of the Representation of the People Act. Jagdeo and the 3 political parties, a New and United Guyana ANUG, the Liberty and Justice Party LJP, and the New Movement TNM, were joined to the substantive matter on Friday after the applications to be heard in the case were approved by the High Court Judge Franklin Holder. In the Bahamas, an 8-hour curfew shift went into effect on Friday evening under an emergency order that gives the government the authority to use temporary but necessary measures in the country's fight against the coronavirus. And in Bermuda, Minister of Labour, Community Affairs and Sports Lavita Fogo says government is working to provide an unemployment benefit for individuals who are out of work due to the economic impact of the coronavirus. And that's it for our regional news segment. Stay with us for news around the world. Welcome back, and now on to the international news. The coronavirus outbreak in New York will get worse, with damage accelerated by shortages of key medical supplies, the city's mayor has said. We are about 10 days away from seeing widespread shortages, Bill de Blasio said on Sunday. If we don't get more ventilators, people will die. New York State has become the epicenter of the outbreak in the U.S. and accounts for almost half of the country's cases. There are now 31,057 confirmed cases nationwide with 390 deaths. That's actually, there's a change in that total as of 4:45 this afternoon. That's over 500 deaths. On Sunday, the state's governor, Andrew Cuomo, said 15,168 people had tested positive for the virus, an increase of more than 4,000 from the previous day, and here's more in this BBC report.
Nearly half the COVID-19 cases in the US are concentrated in the nation's densely populated financial capital, and the city's public hospitals are buckling under the strain. Some private companies are switching production effort to meet the demand for additional ventilators. But Donald Trump has resisted calls to use powers under the Defense Production Act to force companies to make scarce goods. At this time of national crisis in the US, individual states are competing against each other for masks and gowns and face shields, and that's driving up the price.
An announcement by the U.S. Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, that it will underpin the flow of credit to households and businesses has failed to stem a further fall on Wall Street over fears of a worldwide economic slump. More in this BBC report.
If we thought the measures that were considered unprecedented at the time of the 2008 financial crisis were something we'd never seen before. The Federal Reserve is not only dusting down some of the tactics it used back then, but it is also going further. One of the things they announced today was that they were going to buy essentially an unlimited amount of assets to try to support the US economy. They're trying to make sure the flow of credit continues. They also want to make sure that some of that money can get to individuals and small and medium-sized businesses, but it gives you a sense of how concerned they are.
American country music legend Kenny Rogers has died aged 81. A family representative said he passed away peacefully at home from natural causes. Rogers topped pop and country charts during the 1970s and 1980s and won 3 Grammy Awards. Known for his husky voice and ballads including The Gambler, Lucille and Coward of the County, his career spanned more than 6 decades. And Italy has entered an even tougher phase of lockdown as the government clamps down on travel and businesses. They also try to contain the coronavirus pandemic. Here's more from the BBC's Mark Lowen.
2 weeks since the government imposed a nationwide lockdown, the restrictions are tightening further. A new decree from the Prime Minister closes all businesses deemed non-essential, aiming to reduce numbers of people mixing. Around 100 categories of company can stay open, ranging from food production to chemicals, energy to paper, car parts to the manufacturing of coffins. Italians are also now banned from leaving their own town to travel within the country. And in the northern region of Lombardy, worst hit by the coronavirus, all outdoor exercise is prohibited.
And that brings us to the end of our news segment. The latest in sports is next.
And it's time to hunt your prize. Come and celebrate Easter at the City Drugstore Nevis. Here are the rules. 1. Visit the store. 2. Browse for what you want and browse some more. 3. Choose wisely, and if you present a product with special clues, you win. Prizes include discounts, TDC gift cards, sweet treats, and much more. What's Easter without some shopping fun? So visit the City Drugstore this Easter and win big in our Hunt Your Prize promotion.
Welcome back, and now on to the sports. World Athletics President Lord Coe has called for this summer's Olympic Games in Tokyo to be postponed. In a letter to International Olympic Committee IOC President Thomas Bach, Coe says that an Olympics in July 2020 is neither feasible or desirable because of the coronavirus crisis. In local sports, the St. Kitts Nevis Football Association SKNFA Executive Committee, after consultation with the health authorities in St. Kitts and Nevis, has taken the decision as a precautionary measure to immediately suspend all football activities indefinitely as of March 21, 2020. The SKNFA will continue to closely monitor the developments as it relates to COVID-19 in St. Kitts and Nevis and shall further advise its stakeholders on the resumption of football activities on April 15, 2020. In cricket, former Scotland cricket captain Majid Haq announced on Twitter he tested positive for the coronavirus. The 37-year-old off-spinner from Paisley is being treated at the Royal Alexandria Hospital. And in football, Swiss Super League side FC Sion have sacked 9 players who reportedly refused to sign an agreement for a wage cut during the coronavirus crisis. Former Arsenal players Alex Song and Johan Dejereau and ex-Fulham midfielder Pat Jim Kasami are among those confirmed as being dismissed by the club. And that's it for sports. The weather is next. Welcome back to weather tonight. Partly cloudy to cloudy with a 60% chance of showers. The winds east-northeast at 10 to 18 knots with higher spells over elevated terrain. The sea is 1.5 to 2.1 meters and the sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:11 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Monday, March 23rd, 2020. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, no effort spared as federal government commits an additional $16.9 million to health sector in response to COVID-19, and Federal Ministry of Health issues revised travel advisory for St. Kitts and Nevis. Regionally, Barbados keeps borders open. COVID-19 cases increased to 17. Internationally, New York warns of major medical shortages in 10 days amidst COVID-19. And in sports, World Athletics President Lord Coe calls for Olympics postponement. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Jarvis Brown wishing you a pleasant evening.